Hey there, Shrine Runners! Hello, and welcome to the Fox Shrine. I'm Araxis, your host, and tonight we're going to be playing some more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Hope you're all doing well. I'm doing alright myself. I just finished having some dinner, and I decided to order myself a new computer chair. After a lot of thinking about it, I ended up going with the steel case gesture, which I'm really hoping that it turns out good considering the price on that one. And basically my inability to try before I buy, because of the whole lockdown sort of thing. But I'm pretty confident that it'll be absolutely fine, considering how highly it's been praised. And yeah, I think we'll get into the game then, shall we? Alright. As always, do let me know if there are any issues. Hey Kura, welcome. Hope you're doing okay. Got to get things rolling. Okay. And where we left off, we were just getting into the trial. 20th February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Well, I never expected this. Good luck? I don't need luck. I'm good. Would have thought that would be back here again so soon. We are on a study tour of Great Britain with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, we need as much court experience as possible. Well, yes, I suppose that's true. But for the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court. And it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass. Oh, when you put it like that, yeah, you're quite right. Good morning! Mr. Natsume. Good morning. Konnichiwa. Ohayo. Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot. Thank you very much, Wiki. I hope you do as well. Thank you very much for the lurk. The early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression. But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result. He's suffering from the horrible illness known as homesickness. Do all literary people take things so literally? I bet he doesn't even know the difference between a metaphor and a simile. There's a less edgy Poe. Is that what he looks like? Yeah, the resemblance is uncanny there, actually. That is totally Edgar Allan Poe. Is his name a reference to that in any way? Soseki Natsume. I don't know. Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume. I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble. Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor as you do all that trembling. I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Hi? I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London. Oh, neither did I. Probably similar to the fact that a British national got murdered in Japan by allegedly a Japanese person. Similar thing going on here. British national attacked by a Japanese person. So that's the national interest in it, I guess, especially considering the political ramifications of the treaty. Do you know why that might be, Miss Susato? I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea. So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence, then, is it? Don't hide the truth from me! It's because of the Reaper, isn't it? I wonder if the person who got stabbed was important in some way. Lord Van Zeeks. Is that right, Miss Susato? I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning. And yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one. I knew it. Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey, he stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now, in fact, until the day before yesterday. Yes. Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? Trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeeks' return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. So everyone's just here to see a guy get killed, right? If not today, then die in a horrible accident in a few months. The trial of Magnus McGilded. What a harrowing experience that was. I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's. But we wouldn't have realized it, of course, having only just arrived in the country. Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon for what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking. And they are all speculating various answers. Mundane? Mundane! It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us. Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it. Also, you didn't murder anyone. Lest we've also forget the fact that it could also spark an international incident. Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago. Yes, I agree. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. It's you. Me? Well, I suppose that's true. But both times, it is you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper. Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers. I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo, of your uncommon bad luck. Thanks for that. Oh, that is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive! Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London, with little in the way of experience, or skills, or luck. But I promise you this, I will fight your corner until the bitter end. And I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume. Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we will always be on your side. Oh, benevolent non-locum assistant, Miss Mikotoba Esquires. I am in your debt forever. I shall never forget this great kindness for as long as I live.
Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. The court session is about to begin. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once.
Very well. All right then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go. Yes! This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom, and my second trial against the Reaper. I hope you're watching over me, Kazama, because this time I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client the last, just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. 20th February, 10 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom.
Oh, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord.
The defense is ready, my lord.
The Nipponese are a truly fascinating breed.
Sorry? What?
Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you are a student who arrived in London, but two days ago, a mere amateur.
Do you have a point?
Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance. Racism.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description. Susato-san. After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
Very true, and a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate violent end.
Looks like they just rounded up most members of the old jury.
Thank you, councils. I see both sides are in fine fettle. Oh, oh, oh. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public?
Oh, never know when you might be down on your luck. I believe fair play for everyone. That's, it's the Australian guy from before. He's back. Oh, well, I must warn you. I'm rather more ruthless than I appear. Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow. I believe she knows the victim. You can't be a witness. How can you be a witness? You know the victim. Oh, no, not the victim. Sorry, you know the accused. I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed.
Oh, come on. What are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway.
Yeah? Sorry? Didn't quite catch that.
Very well. Let us proceed. Your opening statements, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this fallen student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street before I could sink my teeth into her neck. Because I am a vampire. Actually, no, I should not have admitted that. I am a manpire, not a vampire. A knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Bloody oath they are. Oh, just look. That sallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese. Direct racism here. Oh, come on. Let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Yeah? Sorry. Didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Geez, they're all ready to vote guilty, like, just based on race. Fucking racism, am I right? Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Oh, very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Your name and occupation, please. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? The victim is thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. Happens to be wearing an olive green jacket. I beg your pardon, Inspector. A thought to be? Yes. Having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and we've been comatose ever since. What? So, they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger? Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Yes, sir! If I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago at around 5 in the afternoon. Happened on the pavement run alongside Briar Road, a wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, he was approached from behind by the accused and stabbed in the back. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. Being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is a case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Oh, thank you, Inspector. The court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. Alright, file containing an overview of the case and details about the victim. She was found with a knife in her back and is currently in hospital, yet to regain consciousness. I will have a quick look at that. Okay, details. Young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. The victim, olive green, female, stout build, early 20s, pavement of Briar Road, east side. Reporting officer, Rolly Beat. Additional notes, the victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details are unknown. Apart from the single stab wound from the large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. Okay. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. That was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. Oh, that big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now. Looks like a switchblade there. With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman. Even the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. A common or garden jackknife, I would say. Rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Okay. Never heard it referred to as a jackknife before. Large but commonplace folding knife, found lodged in the victim's back. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? Okay. Doesn't so much look like a stabbing weapon. Like, looks more like cutting rather than stabbing. Unless the tip broke off? Oh. Maybe if I have a... Oh! Look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. You're right. Well spotted, Miss Susato. I wonder what could have happened to it. Yes. You don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you? Oh dear. I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful. Yeah, it's pretty much what I suspected.
let's I don't think there's anything else we can learn from this. Well, from what we can gather by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? I'm afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. This moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
No motive. If theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Were they going to suggest racism at this point? Yet, you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Just, tossing the wine bottle now.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery, but your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here.
What?
Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question.
I mean, police arrest people for many reasons. Sometimes, occasionally for breaking the law.
Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student.
Sir! Yes, sir! Okay, Mr. Natsume's arrest. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Those being a number of old books he'd just bought. I was on his way home from the bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him.
Old books, you say?
Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident.
Ah, yes. I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector.
Okay. Yeah, photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident occurred. A large knife can be seen thrust into the victim's back. They took a photo before helping the woman? Oh, gee, poor Miss Olive.
You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat.
Alright, so got the knife over there. Got 3 books. I don't quite see anything off at the moment. This could change. But we do have his receipt here. which says that he did indeed purchase 3 books. I suppose if they match the books in the picture, then that corroborates that those are his at least. Do we have anything else? Alright. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Mr. Zato?
Oh, do go on.
Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened. As I was walking along the accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
Green overcoat?
Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print, full color. What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back.
There was nobody else there at the time. Just the 2 of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman.
I mean, I wonder if it's going to do that thing where she got stabbed earlier and didn't realize it. Because this has actually happened in the past, where someone has been sort of attacked by another, and like in their sort of surprise, they sort of get over it, sort of like, all right, someone just sort of tried to mug me. I'm gonna just continue about my day, I guess. And then later on in the day, they realize that it wasn't just sort of being punched or shoved or something like that. That there's actually a knife lodged in them that they didn't notice. Possibly because of the adrenaline of the whole situation and mistaking the pain. I'm wondering if that's an incident. I wonder if that's going to be happening here, or perhaps Olive here has some sort of medical condition that deadens her nerves, or maybe she was taking painkillers. Well, I guess we'll find out what's going on, because otherwise he would have had to have completely missed a person going to stab her, or someone threw a knife at her, which is just plain ridiculous. A fact that the accused concedes. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Well, nothing for it. Have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Okay. Yep, 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. Unusually light fog. Hello. Am I from transgender? No, I'm not. I consider myself non-binary. So I'm It's always sort of hard to describe. But I don't really identify as either male or female, I guess. So I just sort of like in everyday sort of life, I'm fine sort of presenting as male, and online I like to present as female because that's just a personal preference, I guess. So hopefully you can hopefully you understood that. I hope you're doing all right, by the way, Shinji.
Hold it!
A light fog, you say? Well, like for London, you could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much further, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Hey Meta, welcome. How are you going? Well, yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Oh, indeed. The other day, I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Zato-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. I am not going, I am staying. Dad joke level French. As I asked, how are you going? Nice one. In that case, how are you staying? I guess by watching, sitting. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Well, visibility was reasonably good, and no one else about but the victim and the accused.
Hold it!
How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Yes. Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. Of course it's necessary. Need to hear from everything. Wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog must have been, no one could have seen. I am unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas street lights. Glad to hear it, Meta. Hope you're doing well, by the way. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light
by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Ho, ho, ho. With magic missile. Means we really need to hear those witness statements. But just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Alright, out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and collapsed on the pavement. Hold it! From behind, you say? That's right. As you can see from this print. Yes. Quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. One thing that I didn't note before, at least out loud, no blood. Maybe the knife's acting like a cork. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in a critical condition? Comatose, no less. I'm afraid so, my lord, yes. She's being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come round before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. I mean, I would be more than happy to hear the victim's statement. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Okay, accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Now, Mr. Natsume's belongings, I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were, irreparably damaged after falling into the snow, of course. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield the knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape he might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord, yes. Okay, in a number of old books he'd just bought, on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. If the suspect could hold 3 books in one hand, then those are not books. They are butt novellas. Maybe you could hold them under one arm, or possibly in a bag, certainly. But it would be difficult, I confess. Like, especially if you look at those books. Like, those books don't look small. So I wouldn't want to be carrying all of those in one hand, or even necessarily in one arm. Like, let's be real here. You could temporarily however, carry them in one hand and then pull a knife, I guess. You wouldn't want to carry them the whole way. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. Bloke's room was stacked full floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Also, hey, Lab Rat. Hope you're doing alright. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is this place here, Bourbon Books. What's the But he went to your books, actually. A little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road on the at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. Okay. Oh, yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the Inspector just told us would turn out to be of vital importance. Yes, I agree. The most important point that the Inspector just made, the bookshop's name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know, I mean, yes, it could be a very important clue. Suspect can't read, and it was a children's book. That's not nice. He's very literate. That's your argument. But children's books are often large, due to having big pages, right? I suppose you could sort of hold them in a hand because of their thinness, but they often have hard covers too. Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance, but please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? Okay, on his way home from Bourbon Books, secondhand bookshop that he apparently patronizes. I'll just press him again here, just in case there's any new dialogue, and then move on, and then we'll present the receipt. So the shop is called Bourbon Books, is it? That's right. That's the closest secondhand bookshop to the accused lodgings. And to get from there back to his room, he would have gone right past the very spot where the incident took place. If I could just confirm one point, can we be sure that the defendant really did visit Bourbon Books on the day in question? Well, we haven't actually confirmed it, no. You haven't confirmed it? Oh, why the devil not, Inspector? Well, the thing is, the shopkeeper's gone on a trip, you see. Left the morning after the incident. Collect more stock, I'm told. So we, haven't been able to ask the bloke if the accused visited his shop on the day in question or not.
Well, in that case, what did the defendant himself have to say about it? No recollection. A what? According to the statement he made at the time, the accused has no recollection of where he'd been. Of course he doesn't. That's really helpful, I have to say. The bloke clearly has his head in the clouds whenever he's walking about town. Claims he just wanders into whatever bookshop he happens to be passing and rarely notices the name. I should say, the man ought to learn to look where he's going at the very least. So, it's just as I thought, then. Is something the matter? Inspector, you may continue with your testimony. Okay, just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. Hold it! You asked for the help of the famous detective Herlock Sholmes to locate the defendant, I believe. Stuff and nonsense. Sorry? A jack in office, that busybody, just comes and sticks his oar in whether we ask him or not. But according to what I have here, Mr. Sholmes was shown to the scene by Scotland Yard detectives. Well, that was nothing to do with me. Lads at the scene must have done it without my permission. I tell him time and again, whenever something happens, send word to headquarters. And follow your bloomin' instructions. I see. That meddler gets his hands on any details. We'll all be reading in the Rants magazine next month. You can bet your last father that I'll be in there too, stripped of all my hard work on the case. Yes, Mr. Sholmes. No, Mr. Sholmes. Aren't you clever, Mr. Sholmes? That's all the thanks I'll be getting. Inspector, if the man is proving detrimental to the Yard's activities, perhaps I should step in and deal with him. It appears Inspector Gregson is lost for words. Yes. Reba's words carry a lot of weight, obviously. Anyway, the point is this, the little Japanese bloke's already admitted it. He's admitted that those books all over the pavement at the scene were the ones he bought that day. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? If you're unable to sway the jury during this cross-examination, I'm afraid that Mr. Natsume's fate will be sealed? Yes. They're sure to find him guilty. So, one way or another, I have to expose an undeniable inconsistency in the inspector's testimony. Alright. First thing we need to do is prove that he wasn't actually at Bourbon Books. He was actually at your books.
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. Takoyaki Tai, welcome! How are you going? We're just playing some Great Ace Attorney. Let me give you your shout out there. Playing some more FF14, huh? How's that going for you? Just in the trial room now. To those who don't know me, I am Araxis Denacia, your revolutionary bartender, and I like to play games with a solid story. And we just finished Yakuza last night, Like a Dragon, and we're also playing Mass Effect, Great Ace, and Library of Ruiner. Thank you very much for the takoyaki, everyone. Not played an Ace Attorney game before. How is it so far? Honestly, this game is probably it's possibly my favorite Ace Attorney game so far. It's pretty incredible. Yep, no problem. I totally understand that you want to avoid spoilers. Love you too, Ty. Hope you had a good stream. But to those who don't know what the Ace Attorney games are, the best way to describe them is a combination of visual novel and adventure game. So what you'll do is during investigations, you'll sort of like explore different sorts of areas, click on different things, and try to find evidence in order to help your client. And you'll have all sorts of sort of funny and dramatic dialogue, and eventually it'll sort of culminate in the trial scene, where you sort of get the case sort of laid before you. Got to sort of find inconsistencies in witness testimonies, provide evidence to exonerate your client, and find out who actually done it. Yeah, no problem. Hope you sleep well, Ty. The games are very ridiculous, I have to say, so don't go into this sort of expecting like real lore. I've got one of the people in my chat is actually practices lore, and it drives him batty, which I find hilarious. But yeah, this game's all about sort of drama and all that. Yeah, detective game, but doesn't take itself seriously. Sometimes the cases do have sort of serious elements. There's character development and the like. But for the most part, it's got a comedic tone, I would say. Oh, what is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. Yeah, this is the detective. And he's always eating his fish and chips. The prosecutor is a vampire, or at least he looks like a vampire. The judge is Santa Claus. Our client is Edgar Allan Poe. And I suppose that should sort of give you an idea of how silly some of the things can be. Only played the first, and things have been burnt into your brain with the witness meltdowns and the parrot. Send in the parrot! Who doesn't show up to court with fish and chippies? I mean, I've actually been a juror before, and court seriously takes care of you. They'll provide lunch to you, and honestly, I thought lunch was pretty good. We didn't get fish and chips, but what we did get was pretty good eating, I have to say. Though, whenever this guy comes on screen, I'm like, God damn it, I really want myself some fish and chips. That'll make me active for lunch. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books. And found that in the accused room, did you? Yes. The point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This guy's totally a Castlevania Dracula, by the way. He's even got like a wine goblet that he throws. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume? Yes, my lord. So, Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. Why does he have a weapon in court? It's not a weapon. It's his best friend's soul who's with him always. And for some reason, they'd let him carry it around. I don't know. One of the jurors was blatantly licking a knife in a previous case. They just let people in with weapons. It's dramatic. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another second-hand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that... well, it's such a small place, I
I didn't think the accused would have known about it. But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection.
Yes. For what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection.
I disagree. I mean, after all, hey senpai, welcome. I have the street map here, if that might be of help. Yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Oh, would that be true? My. It rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility. Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? I know. The animation details are incredible on this. I absolutely love the animations in the old games, but they've definitely stepped up their game with like Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and the ones that are on the 3DS. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but yeah, they do a lot with the 3D animations here. As much as I love the old 2D sprites, how sort of expressive they are, these ones are very nice too. Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Obviously we looked into that. It turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Measham Street going east. So he might have also gone the same direction incidentally, but it could bring in some new clues. Maybe the owner of Your Books is available to speak with. Okay. And there you have it. As you can clearly see now... Oh. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown, the way he regales us with such witticisms. Why, he might even be the entire circus at this rate. To your future career in the circus. Oh man, brilliant. I'm sure a lot of people here are aware of the Miles Edgeworth meme, which wasn't actually said in the game, incidentally. You're not a clown, you're the entire circus. I do love that one, but it wasn't actually in the game. And now they've sort of made it canon, I guess, with this. Nice. You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you. I, didn't think I needed to spell it out, but, here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books, there's no doubt he would still have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Unless he made a second stop along the way, down the other direction. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Oh. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Clowning around. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Yeah. And totally understandable too, with cranking up the expressions to 11 with the simple sprites. Because like similar to stage shows, where the audience may not be able to sort of get a good view because they might be at the back. I gotta hand things up so that people can sort of see their acting, and that's just how it goes with the sprites. And genuinely, it adds to the game for me. And the fact that they've sort of continued that with these 3D ones, absolutely mwah, beautiful. I love it. Ah! As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try. What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Oh, beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that? Part of the charm, and never thought of it as acting on stage. Well, it sort of lends to mind, at least to me, how games with technological limitations have to make up for them in different ways. And that could be one of the ways that the original Phoenix Wright games did so. And that sort of reminds me of the limitations of theatre. Especially sort of when you can't sort of like have it sort of like on a picture for everyone to sort of see the same sort of view. So on theatre, you sort of act in a different way versus how you do on television or in a movie. Or through voice acting, even. They're all sort of different skills, and you sort of do different things because of the different medium. Mr. Naruhodo! We mustn't give up. What? What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. Thank you. She's absolutely right. We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books. But... he must have passed the location. Let's have a quick look at the map. Do we want to raise an objection or not? He could obviously have gone by Calabash Road. It depends on where the door is, I guess. It depends on which way your books faces, right? Like if it faces this way, Measham Street makes more sense. But if it's facing the other way, you might want to go down Calabash. Now, admittedly, I do feel like he passed by the location of the incident on the way home, because... like, he admits to having witnessed it himself, but at this point in time, I do feel like... now, I don't know if this is what the game is sort of expecting of me, but I feel like, yes, there is you could make the argument that Calabash Road is the more sensible direction, depending on where the door to your books is. So I will raise an objection. If I get penalized for it, well, so what? The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map.
When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution, and still, regardless, there is a way he doesn't have to come past the route they claimed. Exactly. He could definitely have gone by Calabash, and people don't act rationally. As I sort of mentioned before, like even if he sort of went, even if the door is that way, there could be shops along the other way that he might be sort of window shopping by. People don't always take the most efficient route. They take the route they're most comfortable with, or they or they might have other reasons that make a different route more logical. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that habit, shop, friend, congested road on Meerschaum, meaning less comfortable to use. Exactly, it could be a busy street. And he seems like a nervous fellow, so he might prefer to take back streets that are less busy. Hey Drago, welcome. How are you going? That route is what is commonly referred to as the long way around. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, I'm alright. A little bit concerned. I feel like I might have the start of a sore throat. Like, it doesn't feel sore, but if I swallow a little bit, I can feel a little bit of a lump. So I'm keeping an eye on that. If it feels like it's going to get any worse, I might sort of call the stream early. But like, actually speaking isn't causing any problems. The accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime. Beef noodle soup. That sounds nice. I just had some leftover moussaka for dinner myself.
Objection!
Yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. He doesn't know what route he took home. He doesn't even know which bookshop he went to. We might get penalized. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. Says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. And exactly, he wanders around. I don't believe this. I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Play. What say you insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense still... I agree with Lord Van Zeeks, wholeheartedly and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean...
Hard to believe someone is so quirky that they intentionally go off the beaten path to just wander around somewhere. I know, right? Like, that prosecution's absolutely correct here. I mean, just look at my client. Does that look like a man who's always going to do the sensible thing? Mr. Edgar Allan Poe? Seriously, look up Edgar Allan Poe if you haven't already. And this guy is a dead ringer for him, like, I swear. Well, we members of the jury are completely convinced now. Oh, very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury. I know, exactly, Pathos. To present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Oh, she's got a deeper voice.
Guilty.
We just gotta challenge the jurors now. Gotta challenge them to Mortal Kombat. It would appear that the jury's leaning is unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Hey, Rel, welcome. Mr. Naruhodo. I challenge the jurors. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. They're totally lazy. Haven't even heard all the witnesses. And we know, we've established this, Rel. We know that juries don't just say in the middle of the case, yep, that guy's guilty. Take him away, toys. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry, not yet willing to give up and die. So, I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. The rights of the defense, written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. You're gonna scale such a mood here. Plant face at the table due to stupidity. Too much to warrant a plant. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Yep, and really, Drago. We all must suspend our disbelief here. This is a game. This is more extra than I expected from the first game. Do we get to hear the most feared words updated autopsy? You get even worse in this, actually. In the very first case, you get told Japan does not know how to do autopsies. So you get them just guessing how this person died. We haven't had updated autopsies yet. But there has been evidence tampering. I'm not going to elaborate. Like I may have streamed this part already, but if you sort of choose to play it yourself, I don't want to sort of spoil how things go for you. CSI is also pretty bullshit. Let's be real. That's all drama. Now, it was established at the start that Japan doesn't know how to do autopsies. Great Britain does. So we can trust the autopsies here, at least. Although there isn't an autopsy here because nobody died. Someone's in a coma after a stabbing, but they're not dead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Rel. I'm not saying that
crime scene investigations are bullshit. I'm saying the way that they do on TV is bullshit. I mean, doesn't everyone want to be Horatio Caine? I just put on sunglasses and say some cool sort of one-liner.
Very well, Counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. Oh, oh, oh. Merry Christmas. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman?
Put on glasses, say a one-line. Yeah! You have to take off your sunglasses to be able to do that. Maybe you just put on an extra pair of sunglasses.
Of course we're ready. All too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncas refusal to throw in his alley.
Very well then. That guy was a witness in the previous case, by the way.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Oh, oh, oh.
Which is not something that jurors actually have to do. Alright.
Oh, for pity's sake, the little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he?
If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it could only have been the victim. Oh, the man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. Oh, so, the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful.
Oh, I really don't care. Can't we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing.
Your books. Yes, nice shot, that. But urban books. No, not worth a visit. Oh, it's worse than that, Rel. It's worse than that. One of the women there, not the first one, the second one. She knows the victim. She knows the accused. She's his freaking landlord. Is one of them the bird woman? No, none of them are the bird woman. If you don't know what's happened to the bird woman. Number 5 is basically most jurors. Which one was number 5? I'm not allowed to talk about, like, what happened, like, when I was doing jury duty. So I'm not sure if I could sort of comment on that, I guess. Like, I'd be able to comment on the case itself, but I can't sort of comment on the jurors, so I won't. I will say that one of the other juries on a different case ended up getting thrown out because they all sort of refused to, like, surrender their mobile phones or something like that. So that sort of screwed up an entire case. I was actually, like, incredibly happy to get called up for jury duty. Like, this is something that I'd wanted to do all my life, to be on the jury. And I got to be on a jury, and it was awesome. And I was really glad to do that. I was super, super excited to be on the jury. And I got to be a juror for like 8 weeks or something. Like, it was a fairly lengthy trial. And I look forward to being able to do that again in the future. I found it quite rewarding. Yeah. It's possible the rules might be a bit different. At least here, they sort of said, yeah, we got paid. We actually got paid pretty well, to be honest. This is Yoga Master levels of flexible and whack. I know, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome what they're doing in this game. It's a game. Let me check how much I got paid. Let me check so I can let you guys know. Okay. So it was actually pretty good. Hold on, let's see the website to log in for jury duty. Give me a second. All right. So, payment for jury duty, where I am, it starts at $106 per day. That's for the first 10 days. And from then onwards, if you're not employed, the payment remains the same. If you are employed, you get paid a little bit less than $250 a day. This is in Australian dollars, by the way, not US dollars. So do your translation, I guess. And you can also sort of work out payments with your work, I believe. And you also get a travel allowance of 30.7 cents per kilometer. So all in all, I found it... honestly, that payment's pretty damn good. I wish I got paid constantly $250 a day. That's better than what I get currently. And the hours are really good too. Like it's like 10 to 4 instead of 9 to 5. You get free lunch. Lunch is an hour. You get time for recess where you get like tea and biscuits. And it's incredible. Like you're treated really well, at least where I am as a juror. With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. Oh. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already. Oh dear. Even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now. Why did he have to run away like that? How are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? I have heard that in the US, jury payments are like absolutely ridiculous. But then again, like a whole bunch of sort of payments in regards to the rights of the working person are absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not surprised that people in America would not be excited to do jury duty. This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense? Convict him of the defendant by a wimp that got scared of a dead body. That's another boot to the wimp. Boot to the head. Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue... Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them, at least. Which is not how real cases work, but again, this is a game. Has to go find some kids to ask if they want to see a dead body, but no one was around. We're not doing Stephen King stuff here. We have no choice but to forge forward. You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Oh. Yes, my lord. Just need to keep this trial going somehow. Whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke. You can do it. Alright, our rebuttal now. Okay, so what we have to do here is we have to pit the jurors' statements against each other to sort of
conflicting statements, essentially. How are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that sent the woman to the attorney with the soul katana in front of the vampire prosecutor? But yeah, hold on. Yeah, this woman here is the wife of the defendant's landlord. So, yeah, certainly a conflict of interest there. And that guy and this guy were witnesses in the previous case that I was on. So again, they've got a very narrow pool of jurors, apparently. Okay, let's. We're gonna press all these jurors, see if we can get more information about them, and then try and pit them against each other. Okay, so the guy admitted it himself, didn't he? He admitted to seeing the body. Pit the jurors against each other to the death. I don't think that'll help us.
Hold it!
Excuse me, but aren't you? Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the side of it, anyway. In this game might as well happen. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London for work. Yeah, establishing that he is, in fact, Australian. And it was all going swimmingly until you started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. Or at least admitting that he's been to Australia. Came back to London. He's picked up the Australian lingo, certainly. Sorry? I don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and the young hatter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. There's all sorts of rumors buzzing around, and the police haven't stopped badgering me non-stop. If I could turn back the clock. Well, anyway, I don't know about the Hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Thank goodness. Well, can we get this juror, yeah, get this juror kicked off the jury because he's got a personal grudge against the lawyer. That's absolutely valid. Speaking of, the way that challenging here worked, both attorneys, like we were also like randomly sort of called up. We sort of like went up to the place where the jurors sort of go, and then the attorneys both basically sort of said challenge at basically random people, and those people were just instantly sort of kicked off. I'm guessing they might have been sort of like trying to sort of get a diverse jury. They didn't ask us any questions or anything like that. They just sort of kicked us off immediately. I'm assuming if they sort of did that too much, they would have to sort of justify this. But they apparently sort of get a certain amount of like just get rid of people immediately. Hey Ada, welcome. How are you going? Maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind given our awkward history. Oh dear. Wonder what's become of Mr. First now. Or maybe that isn't the Hatter. Maybe that's a different guy. He just looks a little bit similar. Although he looks Alright. Okay, so if he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why it can only have been the victim. Alright.
Hold it!
You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him. Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly, that someone wearing green was the victim. Clearly, that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit. Might have judicial duels buried in obscurity. Let's not do that, Rel. Let us not forget, Madame, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman. Glad you're off work. Fuck work, am I right? Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. That man is obviously a liver-faced coward. Honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes. But if that's a lie, as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible? Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds? Well, let's get her kicked off the jury for racism, shall we? I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. I do declare, the man has already made the admission. He himself had stated that there was nobody else involved around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could have possibly committed this awful crime. Yeah, her voice instantly changed to Southern Belle. If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple. True. And we've got a sword. Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit. Also, I am also a racist old man. Oh my, you are too kind, my lord. That went well. For her. Okay, man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter.
Hold it!
But you can't deny that there are other routes Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books. Oh yes, like you draw on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something? Precisely. But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not. Well, yes, that's true. Exactly, Pathos. If she was saying that sort of stuff in my chat, she would get the banhammer immediately. And at the moment, there's no proof that shows he did, is there? Well, yes, that's true as well. Also no proof that says that he didn't. And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he? Well, yes, that's annoyingly true. Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible. Well, yes. Why is all this true? So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road. I'm supposed to be convincing you here. I have given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. Some people like the dark and cold. Do keep in mind that the environment's probably like really cold for Mr. Natsume, considering he's used to Japanese climates. I mean, if there was some logical reason why you might have gone the Calabash Road way, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would. A reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home. Yes, a good reason. Don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one. The other guy at the end was saying something about the other bookshop, though. Maybe it's a hole. Okay, so the poor woman was attacked from behind. How dreadful.
Hold it!
That's not really saying your reasoning. Whatever is the matter, young man? You're the wife of Mr. Garadeb, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume his room. Master's wife? Oh, where do you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid! The maid, you understand?
She's keeping up that charade. This is going to be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean. And why didn't you recuse yourself? Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. Instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice. I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant, takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he? Yeah, the jury summons. Jury summons has a list of sort of, like, rules. That's how you get summoned for the jury. You get a letter. Yes, that's right. Though he's only been in a little over a week now. And in that time, surely you must have taken stock of his character. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? Oh my goodness me, yes! He's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. Man never speaks. Don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Racism again. Oh dear. Oh, Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about him? He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... That's not... A bookworm's completely different. Normally a jury summons isn't personalized. Consider... I mean, it's addressed specifically to a person. Like, it has your name on it. Like, what, do they sort of, like, drop it in a random letterbox? Anyway, I'd, better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's, said enough damning things already. Edgar Allan Poe to a T. Honestly, wandering around, is also Edgar Allan Poe. He's the man who invented the term flaneur, I believe, which was one of his sort of which was sort of used to sort of refer to one of his characters who sort of wanders around and observes things, which was I think a precursor to Sherlock Holmes, if I'm not mistaken. And that sort of character was based on himself, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, really don't care, and wrap this up now. I got work to be doing. No! You gotta do this. Oh, and Pathos with Doodles. Thank you very much for following. Welcome to the Fox Shrine. I hope you enjoy your stay.
Hold it!
A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Yeah, pretty sure mine was personalized.
Don't get clever with me now, son. My life is on the line too. So is my family's.
Ah,
Likes of you wouldn't understand. Laborer like me can't afford to take time off. I don't work, I don't eat. Neither do the wife and kids.
I'm always happy to educate. I do encourage people to look things up themselves. Obviously, the memory can be faulty. As they say, first goes the memory, and then the memory. And because I'm multitasking, with sort of talking with chat and playing a game, trying to sort of be entertaining, I can make mistakes. I don't want to make mistakes. I want to be as accurate as possible, but that sort of happens when you sort of think on the spot. Oh, I see. That must be very hard.
I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. And if you're late and the work's taken, it's tough.
Oh, thank you very much, Pathos.
This time of year, water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and centre. After cheap labour, get the roads dug up to fix it. A hard slog from dawn till dusk it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? Was there road work, perhaps, on one of the roads? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, that was just round the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence? That's right. Meersham Street it was. That's, yeah, Meersham Street, there's road work going on there. So that certainly might inspire a person to avoid that and go by Calabash Road. Meersham Street. On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Okay, well, obviously it's got to work differently in different countries. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. Okay. Alright, so we've got that from him now. We're going to press him again because that's new information and we want to get all the dialogue. So, if I understand correctly, you're a day labourer and you were doing road maintenance that day? That's right. Like I said, you get a lot of burst gas and water pipes underground in the middle of winter. Only time of year fellows like me can actually make a few bob. Missing out today. And when you say from dawn till dusk, well, work has to be completed within the day, see? No coaches or pedestrians can pass while it's happening. I wonder if I could trouble you, sir, to mark on this street map the exact location of the works you were carrying out? Leave it here then. Yeah, have a look. Right, let's see then. Here we are, Meersham Street. Yes, it was, just here, like. Really have a problem finding actual uninvolved and unbiased jurors. I know, right? It's incredible meta. It was a tidy dig, I can tell you. I had to get through all the drifts of snow out of the frozen solid. And at what sort of time did you finish the work? Well, we started in the morning and we kind of finished before gone 6, I'd say. Snow had stopped coming down, but it was long past dark for sure. Ace Attorney Justice, not known for being good for what they do in general. Nope, no, it's not, sir. Entirety of London has a population of 20. Yeah, every Londoner knows each other. That's why whenever someone says, hey, I'm from London, you can ask them, oh, do you know this friend of mine from London? And they'll say yes, because they all know each other in London. That's how it works. That means the road work was still going on when Miss Green was attacked at around 5 o'clock. Roadworks of Meersham Street, huh? Your books, yes. I shop that. Urban books. No, not worth a visit.
Hold it!
Sorry, just had to sneeze. Sorry? Fold it, you say? Fold what? No. What I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often? I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. They sent all the prisoners to Australia. And considering the justice system in London and Britain as a whole, I guess, as we're sort of seeing here, probably everyone got accused of a crime, right? Yep, good point, Meta. I'm gonna go top up my drink, and I'll be right back, okay? I do recommend that everyone else go get a drink, stretch a little bit, stand up, because you want to stay healthy. You don't want to sort of be sitting at a computer all the time. Alright, I'm back. And I've got a story to tell about that, actually. One of my relatives was actually a convict who got sent to Australia. The way it was told to me was it was for stealing milk, I think. This wasn't on the first fleet, it was on the second fleet, so they weren't the original colonists, I guess, but yeah. Convict, second fleet, stealing milk. So not all that far-fetched. You got sent away for just about anything. And America was actually had a bunch of sort of penal colonies there as well. It sometimes gets forgotten, but Australia wasn't the only place that England sent its criminals. Duck might have mugged the man and got away with it. At least they got the milk. Didn't even succeed in getting the duck. Oh, that sucks. Oh, that's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question? That sounds like you're a possible witness now. Great. Yeah. Colonization sucks, by the way. For basically everyone except the rich and wealthy. Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all talking about. Just before 5, you say. Exactly when the victim was attacked. So we've got 3 people now who were in the area when this attack happened. We've got the road worker, we've got the book reader, and we've got the wife / maid. Are you sure about the time? Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had. What do you mean? Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and bonked my head. Always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. Really thought my number was up. Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road. And he's wearing green! And he's the same sort of body type as the lady who got stabbed. That's right, I live on Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books. Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant. Sorry? Extremely sick? No, I'm quite alright now. Sends a shiver down my spine to hear the members of the jury so convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt. But I can't help but feeling that some of their opinions are rather subjective. Absolutely. Is there someone in this room that wasn't in the area and the time of the crime? Raise your hand, please. Anyone who doesn't know the witness is completely uninvolved, no personal stakes, isn't racist. I think it's just that one guy in the middle. The one guy who was like, yep, makes sense for him to sort of go down this street. I'm open to sort of changing my opinion if you can make the case to me. That's the only guy who doesn't have a beef with someone in this, isn't racist, and wasn't in the area or knows the defendant. This is a horrible case. One person in the jury is unaffiliated. And you know what? It's going to turn out that he did it as well. Good thing the police managed to find all potential witnesses and have them testify of what they saw. I agree, it's the irrelevance of what some of them are saying that sends a shiver down my spine. Still, at least some of their assertions don't actually incriminate Mr. Natsume of anything. That's something. Must use that to our advantage, Mr. Naruhodo. Cunningly. Yes, you're right. Let's listen to the jurors again, carefully. Maybe they forgot the jury. They got the jury box on the witness stand mixed up. And if any of their assertions are at odds, I'll pit them mercilessly against each other. Yes, don't hold back. Pit them all against each other. All right, so we're gonna interrogate that last guy once more. Because he's gonna be saying something else. Slipped.
Hold it!
And that was at around 5 o'clock, you say, the same time as the victim was attacked. I don't know anything about the girl who was stabbed, but my dinner's on the table at the same time every day. And for the record, could you please identify the precise location of your fall? Goodness, it was eons ago now. I'm not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Try dredging your memory, man, please. Well, let me see. It was especially slippery around about... Ah, yes, I remember now. I was just in the corner over here. As the people that actually know what happened, they're the most well-placed to act as juror on whether the defendant is guilty. Probably second cousin or some distant family of the victim or the accused, of the prosecutor, or all of the above. Yeah, makes sense, Pathos. I can buy that. What happened to you then? Were you alright? Oh well, don't get too many people down Calabash Road, you see. Oh, there was no one around when I fell. No one around when I knocked myself out. No one around when I came to again. And no one around when I sneezed. So I picked myself up and went back to my nice warm house. My grandchildren were waiting for me. Not enough people in London to have second cousins. That's true, there's only 20 people in London. And we've probably met them all by this point. A sad and lonely picture you paint, sir. Oh, you were fortunate not to have frozen to death. Welcome home, Ada. Yes. How lucky that he wasn't more seriously injured. True. Sounds like it was very nearly another hospital admission. Or worse. Yes, one more thing. Were you wearing that same green overcoat on the day in question? Absolutely. It's the only coat I have. Took until this morning to dry out properly. Good job too, or I'd have had nothing to wear here. So count your blessings, I say. Ho ho ho. I'm turning into Santa Claus. I suppose we should. This gentleman certainly had a close shave there. Alright. So I think we've got our route to turning the jury on each other. Okay, so right now we want to pit you against you. There we go. Those two statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel? Explain yourself. Please, don't point. It wasn't me, I swear. Eh? What? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir. What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. I do like that they've got this sort of, like, pacing here. I think you don't obviously do this in actual court, but, like, in fictional court, like, the lawyers are always doing this, and I love it. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of second-hand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried out on Meersham Street, making it impassable. Which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meersham Street and down Briar Road. Why is he no longer at the council table? When did he teleport into the well? For the examination summation. That's when that happened. Also, never go into the well, you'll get tackled by the bailiff. Oh, yes, of course. What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that, really, can you? Must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement up. You've been slamming on this desk the whole time. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. I guess there's a railing there. So, the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we see now that he had no choice. Yes! I mean, yes. My lord Mr. Judge, sir, if I may? Yes? I don't think in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. It's absolutely tradition to batter furniture. I'm not going to criticize the game for doing this. Even the jurors get in on it. What about you, sir? Who? Me? Well, alright then. There's a hole in the prosecution's argument. It should be filled in, that's what I say. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful. Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It's strengthened our position somewhat. Jurors being firebenders is the new thing. Certainly. As Pathos, have you ever watched the Phoenix Wright movie? The live action one. I personally found that one highly entertaining. Need to run back to the council table every time he needs to yell about things.
Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not.
It's a fairly straight adaptation, which means that they sort of go for all the flair of the game. Basically covers the first game. I really enjoyed it. I definitely recommend it if you enjoy the nonsense that is Phoenix Wright.
They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if you could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume.
You're gonna need to see my favorite aerodynamic hair lawyer in real life.
You might be able to tip the balance completely.
Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Van Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal. Thank you, Counsel. On with the summation examination, please. Oh. Yes, my lord.
I have to say, not guilty at this point, so I can see where this trial goes from here. Okay, whether it's digging up roads or digging up the truth, you've got to see it through to the end, haven't you? Alright. Slipped over that evening myself on Calabash Road, knocked myself clean out. It can only be the victim. No, it can be juror number 6. So, wrong button actually. Sorry, Southern Belle. Okay. Alright. Pit you against this gentleman over here. Yep. Well, he lives in London. It's always foggy. That's why he's able to go out during the daytime. It's like Twilight.
Objection.
Those two statements clearly show a flaw in the juror's reasoning.
A flaw? What are you talking about, Counsel?
Well, juror number 2? Juror number 6? My, whatever do you mean, sir? I think perhaps the old man didn't hear you. Unbelievable.
It's not like I was loud or anything.
There is at least one fact of which we can be sure here. The bookshop receipt found in the defendant's room clearly indicates that on the day of the attack, he had been to your books and purchased a number of second-hand titles. He then returned home on foot. The man here says he has no recollection of his return journey. That's correct. But what he does remember is seeing someone appear in front of him on the way. Someone in a green overcoat who suddenly collapsed on the pavement before his eyes. Yes, we are well aware of that. All this. A poor young woman who was stabbed, obviously.
Objection.
Can we really be sure of that, madame? My, whatever do you mean? I'm sure you heard juror number 6's account of what happened to him that day. That same afternoon, there was somebody else apart from the victim who was wearing a green overcoat and who fell over on the icy streets in the neighborhood. Oh my. My goodness, you mean? That's right. I'm referring, of course, to hard of hearing juror number 6. Are you really suggesting that the person in the green overcoat whom the defendant saw collapse in front of his eyes Was the jolly old gentleman on the end of the bench here with me today?
Not to be able to hear someone in an Ace Attorney court. You must be really deaf. Well, maybe Mike Meekins was shouting his megaphone off at someone.
That is entirely possible, yes. After all, the old man has a somewhat similar build to the victim.
Well, look at that.
My goodness me. Huh? Sorry? You need to pee? And crucially, we know precisely where the old man in the green overcoat fell. On Calabash Road. Therefore, if the person who Mr. Natsume saw collapsing in front of him was in fact juror number 6, it means the defendant must have taken the long route back to his lodgings. And if that's true, then clearly the crime scene on Briar Road, where the woman was stabbed, was not on his way home. Oh my!
You idiot, old man. If you hadn't been so daft as to be roaming about there, I would have boxed this off hours ago.
And thrown an innocent man in jail. Really? What were you thinking wearing such a befuddling coat?
What did you say to me?
A crime for the elderly to walk the streets these days, Is it a crime to slip over on the ice? Is it a crime to keep up with the latest styles and wear a beautiful green overcoat, is it? My lord, I do hope it won't cause any inconvenience, but
you'd, like to change your leaning, I presume?
I do declare that I would. I should like to call for a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
And I would too.
What? Is it a crime to change your mind, is it? Well, I'm gonna get in before her. That racist old biddy.
Well, that summation examination has concluded with a rather large shift in opinion. The ayes 2, the noes 4. So the noes have it. Not guilty, they say. Which means we no longer have a consensus among the members of the jury. The trial will continue.
Objection!
Could it seem churlish of me to drink from my hallowed chalice moments after raising an objection, only to crush it in disgust? Pray, forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zeeks.
It seems I must retract my earlier remark.
What do you mean?
I mistakenly credited these jurors with intelligence by describing them as insightful. Yet, we have just witnessed them falling for a cheap trick performed by an Eastern entertainer.
Eh? Whatever do you mean?
Objection!
I haven't tricked anyone. Everything I've said is the truth.
Indeed. Stalwart jeweler number 5 was undoubtedly repairing the road as he claims. I believe you said it was a good 2 yards of the pavement which you had excavated, sir.
I would also argue reasonable doubt, but then again, the Phoenix Wright games have never operated under reasonable doubt. They've always operated under guilty until proven innocent. Because that's how the Japanese sort of legal system ends up a lot of the time, unfortunately. I do have to understand that this is a Japanese game, and the Phoenix Wright games are actually a criticism of the Japanese legal system, where often they only end up bringing things to court if they've basically got a 100% sort of chance of getting a guilty verdict. Prosecutors being incredibly rich versus the defense lawyers who are rarely able to sort of win cases and not doing so hot themselves. So that's part of why people sort of criticize the Phoenix Wright games. Obviously they are still a work of fiction, but chances are you're looking at it under your own country's legal system rather than that of Japan's, which is what is important.
That's right. Took me the whole day and they paid me a measly tuppence for it.
Again, as someone who's been on a jury, asking the jury to sort of go beyond all reasonable doubt is asking them to asking there for there to be a lot of evidence there. The case I was on had video evidence, thankfully, but even that was enough to sort of cause the jury to sort of debate for several days over whether certain charges were guilty or not guilty.
Now, my learned Nipponese friend, tell me, do you have any notion of the distance that 2 yards represents? About 2 meters, I would guess? Well, if I'm honest, I don't have a clue, no. 2 yards is a little less than 2 meters. Less than 2 meters. That's not much at all. In other words, a distance readily vaulted by anyone of moderate vigor. Would you not agree, my stalwart friend?
Eh? Me? Well, can't say you're wrong, no. What?
And did you, perchance, erect a sign to prevent pedestrians from passing the site of your works?
Yeah, I wouldn't dream of it. What a waste of time. No coaches would have had a hope of passing anyway, and we just turn any gentlefolk back when they come.
Exactly.
I definitely wouldn't. That's asking for trouble. Kids just jump right over us all the time. Kids will be kids, apparently.
The accused is no gentleman, as far as I can see. I have little doubt, however, that he could spring over a 2-yard trench in his meanderings around town.
Is that true? Is it?
The incontrovertible truth is that the books just purchased by the accused were found at the scene. There can be no doubt that on his way back to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume walked down Briar Road.
Crushed in a single sentence.
And, old man.
Cold man? You can talk?
You say that at around 5 o'clock on the day in question, you slipped and fell on Calabash Road. pray, was there a suspicious-looking Nipponese behind you at the time?
Oh, can't say as I remember.
We censure. Can we censure opposing counsel for being a racist? If I could, I would. But I can't.
You don't remember?
How about a wager, my learned friend? You say it was this old man that the accused saw, but I would lay 1,000 to 1 against you being able to prove it. Again, reasonable doubt. Again, this game doesn't care about reasonable doubt. Order! Order! Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. My lord? If you had such a trenchant argument up your sleeve, why in the world did you not proffer it during the summation examination? I wanted to give this young fallen student the sightseeing experience he no doubt came for. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. Are there public gambling laws in Britain at the time? Gambling's always been regulated, apparently. History of gambling. Gambling at cards in establishments popularly called casinos became the rage during the Victorian era. Certainly. I don't know anything about public gambling, however. Whatever. Might be interesting to look up, but this is beyond the purpose of our this stream. Legal in a courthouse. It's a figure of speech anyway. I wanted him to see for himself how the opinion of the jury is so readily swayed. But my hospitality has limits, and they have been reached, I fear. So, my learned friend, today's sightseeing tour of London is now over. What are you talking about? Figure of speech are a crime punishable by death. My lord, the prosecution requests permission to call its next witnesses to the stand. Because, as you know, we interview multiple witnesses at the same time in London. Granted. Bailiff, bring forth the witnesses. Oh. It's next witnesses? Mr. Naruhodo? Do you not remember? We've been told on several occasions that there were eyewitnesses to the incident. Yes, I remember. One of them being a Scotland Yard policeman, no less. I'm afraid that's likely to be the prosecution's next witness. Alright. No matter who Van Zeeks brings to the stand as his witness, and no matter what they say, I believe in Soseki-san. I know he's innocent. And I'll keep believing to the very end, until this battle is over. Next witnesses, the mother of the victim, the father of the accused, and the actual knife of the crime scene. Just wait until you hear what the knife has to say. Also, the knife is racist. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Constable Rowley beat, sir! Nothing to report on the streets, sir!
And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name, and I'm proud to say I'm the young town hero's wife.
What's the story here?
Oh well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day.
Are you chewing on your helmet strap, sir? No, it was your husband I was asking about. He seems tired. Overworked. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? Sure, I've heard that before, actually. Indeed. Apart from the rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. They patrol boarding houses and pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that the meters are running true, and they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our street lights. Oh. I'll not have you casting aspersions on the character of our little of the lady there. Although she does seem like she's in charge, given the way she was strangling her husband. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet, I'd have collapsed long ago. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor. No kink shaming, exactly, no kink shaming here. They're into a little bit of rope play. That's between them, Mr. and Mrs. Rowley, or whatever their names were. And man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction. And they witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat? That's right, Beat. That's, as in Beat Cop.
Oh, that's right, sir. Oh, isn't it, Rowley? Isn't it, Rowley?
Constable Rowley Beat, sir! Nothing to report on the streets, sir! What a great witness he's going to be. I like how he's got such a jolly tune. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, please. Oh. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir! There he goes. Okay, what the witnesses saw.
Yeah, let's go. It was our wedding anniversary, and Rolly was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and the other scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at a nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him as clear as day.
Well, that's extremely compelling testimony, I must say. And not just because a pretty young lady is telling the story. Just like how all pretty young ladies in Phoenix Wright games are to be believed without doubt, 100%. Rolly was probably asleep. He didn't see shit.
Oh dear. This policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene.
Her eyes are sparkly. He's definitely a sadist who loved seeing that.
If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed.
It's death knell, in fact. Because that alternative was never viable in the first place.
What an unfortunate chancing. And on your wedding anniversary too. Oh, I know. But I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London Bobby sounds very hard indeed.
Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. You may well have time to rest this afternoon.
What do you mean by that?
My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less. So, you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Listen to all the gravitas in my voice.
Except that the man's so tired his wife has to do all the talking.
Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense. Commence the cross-examination, please. Oh.
Yes, my lord.
Alright.
Let's find out what exactly it is that they saw. Now, first things first, let's look at their profile, shall we? Hold on. I might have to press them first, rather. Alright. Wedding anniversary, Rolly taking me out for a meal, no time to change. No time to change after work, you say. Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat?
Alright.
So. Yep. Reaper, concrete details, and down with a knife in her back. Wound not fatal, woman's unconscious. Rolly Beat, a dedicated London Bobby who witnessed the incident whilst walking down the street with his wife of a year, Patricia. And the wife of Constable Rolly Beat, who is a witness to the incident. She's relatively recently married and fiercely proud of her policeman husband. Cop wife. I'm familiar with the sort. Oh no, sadly not. Oh, it's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, and the elderly can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job, can't you? I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down the ground, doesn't it, darling? What? Just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was, actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh, no, Rolly. I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't even recognize you when I see you in plain clothes. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir, yes. I was hit the drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. Yeah, let's have a drink. Policing is my life, sir! As long as I'm proud owner of this, I'll serve my city and my queen to my death, to the end. What's, that now? My warrant card, sir! Proof that I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it, as a reminder to all our policemen of our sworn duty. To patrol the streets of London town, and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir! And for such a noble cause, I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the plodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. Gonna pull the scarf so hard that whiplash might break his neck. That's another crime and another case for the court for the same people that are already here. Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a witness breakdown involving their scarves. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. Police as they exist today are actually fairly recent. But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Those sparkling eyes. Those dead eyes. Oh, what a charming couple. The young love is such a joy to behold. If a little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next. Okay, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. Two silhouettes. Oh, that's right. They were coming towards us, walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim, as pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume. Yes, unfortunately it does. And you're certain that at that time there was nobody else nearby? Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark, but there are streetlights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling? What? Yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. The Briar Road is not straight, and you can see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. I didn't see any pedestrians. Before sleep takes a firm hold, your answer, please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you've just said? Yes, sir!
As a copper who spends all day, every day, keeping watch on the streets, I'd swear to it, sir. As I'm as sure as my love for Patricia is sure. Oh, Pat. Oh, Broly. Still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. Starting to seem like that must be how it really happened. It's getting to seem like there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed? Shaking hands with Hypno, certainly. Gotta be careful. As after Hypnosis Thanatos. Okay. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and the other scattered something before running off.
Hold it!
Scattered something? What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But then when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling? What? Yes, that's right. Some, old books. I see. Old books. Yes, sir! The culprit had dropped a number of them all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in the photographic print. Oh, that rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed. That's racist. Let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. We saw him. It was the man in the dock without question, sir. The mustache, a hunched back, cat-like eyes, taut mouth, the snub nose, everything. Any more insults you want to throw in there? Eh? At least we should be glad that you didn't shoot him. That's right. He looked down at that poor, defenseless woman, those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here. May I remind the court that the unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now please, continue. Yes, sir! Okay, ran straight over, then went for help.
Hold it!
You're probably right, actually, Ada. Like as you were sort of talking about before, policing back then isn't how it was today. Like as you can sort of see, they had sort of like a whole bunch of sort of other duties, crime fighting, of which was only a minor part of it. I'm pretty sure they only had like maybe a truncheon or something. Was it your husband who went to fetch help? Oh, no, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I am the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? I'm pretty sure that London police don't always carry guns anyway. I could be wrong, though. What? Yes, that's right. Ask Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by that point. But Robbie's never truly off duty, of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene.
Very laudable, Mr. Beat.
Oh. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. That's why I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police box.
Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean exactly by the right police box?
Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. But the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia the way to the police box was the beat the incident fell under, so she could go and report it.
I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help with the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know?
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of two model citizens. Ah.
Oh, please. Oh, you're making us blush. Isn't he, darling?
Yes, sir! What Patricia said, sir! Let's, move on, shall we?
Both saw him as clear as day. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Are you sure you don't have cataracts in those eyes?
Right.
The light from the street lamps was more than enough. And my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he?
Oh, I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm not a professional voice actor or anything like that. I just try to sort of give them a bit of flair.
Yes, and what of the fog?
Oh, we're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. When it's thick, can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, alright, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was the little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
Yes, it was the accused. No mistake. Mustache, the punched back, the cat-like eyes, the taut mouth, stub nose. Unmistakable, sir!
As far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san that they saw running away from the scene of the crime. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they say they saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day? Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no. Then what do we do? If Kazama-sama were here, what are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you could identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them, to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of the day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, must focus on finding a discrepancy in these statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid that the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Why do I always seem to be so up against it? Okay, let's have a look here. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it.
She looks so cute like that.
What? No. Oh, no, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail. Everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one, I could. Every single one.
He is excellent. She's gonna screw herself up.
And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is?
That will do, Mrs. B.
No, it won't do at all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rowley will. I really didn't mean to cause offense. And please, put your husband's fists down.
Perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat. Might that appease you?
Oh, thank you, my lord. Oh, that would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? It would. He agrees.
Even the judge can't handle her.
I could even tell you the names of the four books he dropped at the scene.
There we go.
Hold it!
Yes, we know that there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say.
Those purchased by the accused at the nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question.
After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. I am a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rowley.
Heard of trophy husband, but not of weapon husband. Clearly, old Rowley here is a lethal weapon.
And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know? Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling?
Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime. Well, Mrs. Beat, seeing as you've regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene?
I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was the picture of Monsieur somebody or other, and what's it, Yearnings? Then there was a meal for someone, and the last one was definitely the thingamies something. You see?
You certainly might end up passing out in the snow and just suffocating and freezing to death.
Yes, I see that there are one or two holes in your memory. Oh, well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure.
There were indeed books found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it.
Oh, well, what did I tell you? So, I think it's very mean the way that you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling?
Anyone who upsets my Patricia will have me to answer to.
Oh, hey, he does have a gun.
Terrifying.
Yes, she really is. That's it. Okay. Yep. Okay. Alright, so back over here. And what do we want to present here? We've got the secondhand book receipt, which says that he had 3 books. And we've got the picture over here, which shows 3 books. So, which one do we present? I think we'll go with the picture, because that's showing what's displayed. Hopefully the game's smart enough to realize where I'm going with this.
Objection.
So, you're saying that there were 4 books. That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's That Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and the Thingamy's Something. So that last book wasn't there. She's right about the first ones, approximately. But the Thingamy's Someone. Yeah, that book's not listed here at all. There's a 4th book at the scene of the crime that she saw but wasn't in the picture. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours. Oh no. What flaw? Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. What? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see, there are only 3 books. But no, that can't be. I saw them. Oh, I know what it is. Yes, you can't fool me. Sorry? It's that big old lump of a dead body. The lady's so large, her corpse is blocking the view of the 4th book, that's all. She's not dead. She's not a corpse. Let's at least try to remember that the poor woman isn't dead, even if we're insulting her size. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But Mr. Natsume could not possibly have dropped the 4 books you describe. Why not?
Fascinating. And from your assured tone, something you can readily substantiate with evidence, I presume?
I can. It's the receipt.
Counsel, you will present evidence to substantiate your claim or withdraw it. What proof do you have that the accused did not drop 4 books?
Oh. It's the second-hand book receipt, my lord.
Take that!
The evidence is right here in the form of this bookshop receipt. From your books? Yes. This receipt details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. No. Therefore, Mr. Natsume would have only dropped 3 books at the scene of the crime. Which means that your powers of observation, madame, cannot be relied upon. I think we should go with her on this, actually. Let her say that there are 4 books, and an as yet unidentified third party dropped a book themselves, and then picked up their book, establishing that someone else was at the scene of the crime. And they're the ones who murdered, not murdered, grievously injured this poor woman. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Because, if we recall right, she wasn't there all the time. She possibly sort of went there first, took count of the books, then she ran off to go find that Bobby at the police booth, at which point her husband was guarding the scene. But obviously he wasn't guarding the scene. He was lying asleep in the snow. So he wouldn't have seen anyone. Oh no. No, oh no, oh no. No!
Objection!
It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So, you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? Sees right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Oh! You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But then what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen. In that print. That print? You mean to say... Allow me to present another. One that shows the victim's hand. The lion's... Ooh, shit. The lion's pride. This is not going to be important to people who didn't catch the previous stream. But this guy over here mentioned that his book, The Lion's Pride, had gone missing. So that whole sort of like incident before about all that is now going to come to the forefront in some way. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. Okay. Who do we think is the murderer here, I think? Do we think it's John Garadeb? He seems disabled in some way because at this rhythm the good Baron will be wasted by the end of the trial. He's a vampire. He doesn't have blood in his veins. He can drink as much alcohol as he wants. Could he have possibly murdered her in order to get his book back? because he said he was very fond of that book. And he sort of fits the description of being like a tall, thin man, but again, stooped as well because he's got a cane. Though why didn't he get the book back, I wonder? That could be something to consider here. Like all those sort of descriptions that were sort of like being sort of mean also fit with John Garadeb. Why must every asshat prosecutor withhold evidence? Because they're fucking asshat prosecutors, and this is a game that doesn't give you all the evidence up front. That's why. Okay, so I think it was probably John Garadeb. Although, Joan Garadeb was also mad at her husband because she thought that he was having an affair with a woman. And if she saw a woman with his book, she might think that it's the woman that he was having an affair with. He wasn't. He says that he sort of bought that book and the bookmark was already there. He denies it. So she could have tried to kill said person. She's an angry lady. She's an angry and strong lady. And also, incidentally, fits the description of Olive Green in terms of build. So, something's definitely going on here. Okay. No. No! Order! Order! There, you see? You see? Look at that. Look, look, look! Yes? It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir! Patricia's always right, sir!
Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please. Oh yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other. The picture of Monsieur Lecoq. What's at Yearnings? Canterbury Yearnings. A meal for someone? A meal for Gaboriau, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional. Did you hear that, Rolly? That gentleman paid me a compliment.
Yes, sir! Flawless, sir! Patricia is flawless!
But there's only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, Counsel, but does that not seem odd? I'm still processing that Rolly truly is a 0 to 100 kind of guy, going from stand in coma to pulling a gun. I know, right? At least he's got to be like that. He's well rested normally. He's conserving his energy for that time where he has to go to 100 in order to foil crimes and all that, or else defend his wife's honor. Mostly the latter. I don't see him foiling any crimes anytime soon. Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. Now you can also see the damage on the book as well. That other guy I was sort of talking about before, he mentioned that his whole sort of bookshelf sort of went up in flames, and he said this book got lost to the fire. Clearly not, apparently. But did suffer some damage. In other words,
it belongs to the victim.
The victim was holding her own book? I wonder, what became of that fourth book?
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. Oh, you will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord.
Okay, second crime scene photograph has been entered. Second photograph of the scene taken by a policeman just after the incident specifically shows the victim's hand. And the fourth book, entitled The Lion's Pride, discovered in the victim's hand at the scene. We're gonna go examine those now.
The prosecution rests.
Okay, so investigate this first. You can see the damage over there. I'll be able to have a better look at it. Over here, I imagine.
The burns. Autopsy update.
To be fair, in an actual court, they don't present all the evidence at once. Although, all the lawyers are supposed to be aware of the evidence. There's no sort of surprising the opposition. I can't find anything out of place yet, so we're not interested in the book itself, we're just interested in the burns. Oh, look at this! The book has been badly burnt. You're right. Never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently. A book recently damaged by fire. Why does this seem to raise a red flag with me? There we go. Back cover is badly burnt. Add that to the record. Exactly, Rel. But as we've established, this doesn't follow any sort of rules of court. I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious, longer route to the accursed lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I? See? Everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling? Arrested for perjury, as he claims he has nothing more to add. Yes, Pat! Marry me, Pat! So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions? Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? They're already married. He just forgot because he's tired. You have heard all the witnesses and seen all the evidence. This trial has run its course. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think! What do you do now? Raise an objection! Why does this lady have a burnt book?
Objection!
I'm not done yet! No, my learned friend. It's over. That last
cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed, for a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh. I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Mr. Naruhodo. One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So, this court will hear you, madame. Oh. Go ahead, Miss Susato. Please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further? Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished. I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you? Huh? Mr. Naruhodo? What do you think? Absolutely. It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to renounce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Miss Susato. This is it. Susato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. Can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Oh. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. The fourth book found in the victim's hand.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, that I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Naruhodo?
I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes, I think you might be right.
So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case which this fourth book conceals? Over here.
Got it!
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back? Don't you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp! Oh.
So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniable and undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend?
Oh,
Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide?
charred book. There is just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. Alright, I'll explain my theory.
Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this sorry tome has suffered?
I can ascertain its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner.
I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hands as she fell to the floor after all. It's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers.
Good gracious, how could you possibly?
Very well.
I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. But tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of the burnt book?
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb.
The landlords.
And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know. But of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadeb herself. Oh my goodness me. I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadeb's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if we could just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house? I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say. You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house.
Good Lord! What sort of incident, Counsel?
A fire, my lord. Afraid say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. Whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Bride. Yes, we've discussed how disgusting it is already, Rel. The Lion's Pride. It's not an empty cup. He is stirring it with a pipe.
By Jove! At the very same title, that's the subject of this debate. Oh.
Oh, dear me.
Objection!
This is risible. All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case, it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime.
Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly?
Absolutely not, sir! My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir!
Had all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. And the wife started hurling things at me. There was I, backed up against the window, under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books incoming 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window and had burning books thrown at him.
Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through a window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted at the very evening of the incident, and there is no report of the Garrideb window pane being broken.
That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garrideb household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time and
Not even remotely. Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter.
Ah, right. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garrideb's wife? I believe it's a possibility, my lord.
That's quite enough.
Mr. Garadeb? Oh, no, his wife. Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster. You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward. A mean coward. Really. Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight. Honestly, implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name. No, I assure you that was never my intention. Dragging my upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Too right.
Here we go.
How long have we been sat here now? Listen to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with the mustache. He ran away from the scene too.
I do declare you're right. It's true. Yes! What did I tell you? Also, he's got a mustache as well, and walks with a cane.
Makes sense to me.
Huh? Sorry? What's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zieks?
In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been... If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time, while I give a boot to the wimp. What? No forgive the discourtesy this time? Appealing for a mistrial at this point. When will he crush this one? True. His fabulous goblets that are apparently worth so much.
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear. Oh. It'll be with the boot.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Well, we're doing this again, are we?
Thank you for that unambiguous response.
It's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Miss Susato, have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting, of course, that the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point. You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve. I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. To be continued. I managed to get through to the second part. Impressive. So, we'll save the game here. And I think it's time to call it a night. We're sort of coming up upon when I sort of normally end my streams anyway. And I think I do need to sort of take some off my throat a bit. It is starting to get a little bit raw. So I'll make sure to take some Strepsils or something. How did you all enjoy that? I know I certainly did. I'm looking forward to seeing, having another summation examination, because those are always fun. Now, tomorrow we are going to play some Library of Ruiner. That's going to be at 1 p.m. my time. And Wednesday and Thursday I'm not going to be streaming because of the strike that's going on, and I want to sort of make sure that I'm participating in that. But Friday will be my 1-year anniversary as a VTuber. So hopefully I'll be able to sort of see people around for that, where we'll be doing some Ruiner in the afternoon, followed by Great Ace Attorney after a few hours break, which should be a lot of fun. Anyway, we're going to go raid Malcolm Bell now, who's apparently doing a programming and chill stream, learning Rust. I want to go check things out there and say hello to him. He's a quite delightful fellow. I do like his content. So yes, I will do a head pat raid for him, and hopefully I'll be able to see you all next time. All right. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you all next time. All right. See ya.